It's Sunday, the 12th of October. Palestinian resistance forces are set to release all the remaining hostages, that's right, all, that they have tomorrow before midday local time. Once the expected 20 hostages are released, Israel will then release 2,000 hostages that they hold. Though often they're called prisoners. Not sure why, because you can check this. Israel holds these Palestinians, these 2,000 and many others, without having charged them for any crime. They haven't even made up a crime according to whatever warped Israeli law they wish to apply. They're just being held. Why am I being held? Shush, you don't know, you cannot ask. That, if the Israeli state are holding them for the purpose of using them as bargaining chips, one could argue those are hostages too. That's what a hostage is. Anyway, that's the order of release. The Palestinians will release their hostages and then Israel will release their hostages. Though Israel won't release all their hostages, they'll keep a lot in reserve. And of course, don't forget, they can drop a few cheeky rearrests if they feel like it. Resistance forces in Gaza will release the hostages to the Red Cross or Red Crescent, an aid organization, and then from there they'll be moved into Israel, and then Israel will verify that they exist, I guess, and then release the 2,000 Palestinian hostages they have. Note that how exactly the Israelis will release the Palestinian hostages, where exactly, I don't have the full details, and I think the full details are not fully released actually to the public. Israel holds a lot more hostages than the Palestinians currently do, of course, and they regularly arrest Palestinians and hold them without charge for any crime. This is quite common. It's called administrative detention, sometimes for months. So, call your workplace, gents. You might not be back in the office for a while. That is, if your office is not yet a smoking pile of rubble, anyways. Because the pesky command center that was underneath your office that you nor anyone else knew about. Except, of course, Itamar Ben-Gvir, for some reason. Anyway, here are some curious restrictions for the exchanges to occur tomorrow. Israeli hostages have to be released without any sort of ceremony. So you see in the past, the Palestinian resistance groups, they did this thing where they trooped up the hostages they were going to release onto a stage. They gave them some sort of awards and certificates. I don't know, did they learn Arabic in captivity? It was all quite unique, you could say. And then they sent them on their way. There were scenes and footage of hugs and handshakes between the resistance forces, the captors and the hostages. So it looked very odd. And when people looked at these scenes and footage, they went and they tried to reach out to the hostages, and the Israeli state tried very hard to make sure the hostages could not just speak to media and give whatever details the media wanted. There was a lot of restriction. They don't want that again, so they've agreed with the Palestinian resistance forces, I believe, that no ceremony will be held. It's not a publicity thing. It's not a media exercise. We'll see if that works out that way. And of course, the Israelis in Hostage Square and across the country will be celebrating, right? The return of the hostages, right? Huge cheering. American officials are already in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv making speeches live. Mike Huckabee, for example, saying he's been dreaming about this day. Well, that's so nice for you, Mike. Nice one. Plenty of celebrations prepared. For Palestinians to be released, though, Israel makes it clear no celebrations allowed. Oh no, these are fighters. These are hardened criminals. What crime did they do? Doesn't matter. In fact, we don't have a crime for them, but they could have really bad. You can't celebrate for bad people like this. These are family reunions because we've been forced to release them. No celebrations, though. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these poor sods probably released into the West Bank are released into the West Bank and then rearrested soon after because they smiled at their mothers, or they cheered, or they ran to their family members, and that was counted as celebration. Can't have that. Enjoy this new administrative detention. Or I don't know, the ground was too slippery, and an IDF soldier, slipped, lost his footing, and became another tragic hero of the nation. And that obviously will start, bullets will start being fired at that point, potentially. That's a joke, obviously, what I just said. But remember, a lot of these guys that are arrested, I stress again, they can ask, what crime have I been arrested for? The IDF says, trust me, bro, you're guilty. Don't worry about the crime. We'll manage that. We'll make that up sometimes. We'll manage that later. So no celebrations for released Palestinians. Okay, what is a celebration? Let's at least get into that. Well, It's, of course, don't be silly, guys. It's whatever Israel considers a celebration. Just like what's a threat? Maybe a teenager frowns a bit too, frownily at an IDF soldier. That's a threat. That's a threat. Come here, come here, come here. Kids have been literally shot for less in the West Bank. They've been struck by drones for just walking somewhere. You can see on camera there is just a person walking, a child. Boom! Child no longer. See you in hell. Here's ways. Kind of went heavily off script there. But yeah. So yeah, the Palestinians, don't celebrate, and consult your IDF occupation guideline handbook for details on what counts as a celebration, so you know what not to do, right? Cheers, mate. Hundreds of trucks, I should also add, stand ready at the Gaza crossing, not being allowed in, of course. Now, commercial goods, interesting point to note here. Commercial goods have reportedly been allowed in some amount, but there's a deep economics here that most won't understand. I'll try and unpack. Commercial goods entering the crossing, let's say trucks and trucks of commercial goods, means stuff that's going to be sold by some owner, wealthy man, businesses, whatever remains in Gaza. So to buy those, you need, guess what? Money. Where's my guy, Abdullah, with a family of 3? Was a family of 8 before the IDF defended itself in their family home. So now it's a family of 3. Where does Bossman, Abdullah, get money? Where does he work his steady 9 to 5? What? Shoveling rubble from one place to another? What's going on? How is he going to get money to buy the goods that are going in commercially? So you see, that's a very simplified example to help you understand that commercial supplies is not what Gaza needs desperately. They need humanitarian supplies, meaning free stuff for people with no money or jobs. Aid organizations have made it clear that they stand ready to open up. I think one aid organization said we're ready to open up 100 distribution points in Gaza. 100. The United Nations used to distribute at 400 locations. One aid organization said, okay, give us the green light in a few days. 100, we'll set it up and we'll start distributing. But they have yet to be given the green light by the Israeli Defense Force to be able to do that. The IDF that guard the borders to Gaza still. What happens tomorrow will be the next true indicator of what might happen in the coming days and weeks. What happens tomorrow in terms of the hostage/prisoner exchange that seems to be organized to be going on. And I'll keep you posted with the news and the analysis unbiased and without the Western spin. And if you're unhappy that I label myself unbiased when I'm clearly biased, apparently, well, then I would ask you to check your bias. Because loads of people have been saying, Mahfouz, you're biased. You're biased. Why don't you give both sides? I am giving both sides. It's just you're very used to one side being demonized day in, day out, 24/7, and the truth being warped, and the other side, because of the Western spin you've been drinking, the Kool-Aid you've been drinking all your life, you're used to the other side being portrayed as the victims, the tragic defenders who have been forced to do unspeakable things.